wanted to talk to you about religion. Before you go going, oh my god, it's going to be controversial, help, giant squid of anger. No, I'm not going to make it controversial, though I would like to preface the video with the fact that I am an atheist. But I think as you'll see, I do have a great deal of respect for religion. Although both my parents were raised in the Church of England, so I guess that's Anglican, they didn't raise me with any religion, and I have never really been to church with my family, and I've never, ever believed that there was a god or an all-powerful being or a number of all-powerful beings with many arms, like in India. All that to say, I'm pretty much a categorical atheist. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about more was how I consider myself to be a religious atheist. So until last fall, I'd never really been in a church, and every time I went near a church, I felt a little bit uncomfortable, and I felt that if I went into a church, people would leap out from behind columns going, "Atheist! Get out!" I know, it's a little bit paranoid, but it was actually how I felt. I thought that people would judge me and that they wouldn't accept my curiosity about religion just because I didn't believe, which is an unfair judgment, and I know that it's not true, but you can't help the way you feel sometimes. And I've often thought that I was maybe missing something because I didn't have a religion. It's always really interesting to hear about what other people believe and how that fits into how they live. And then this fall I travelled in Europe, and you may know that in Europe there is a lot of history, and because there's a lot of history, there are a lot of churches. And churches are actually a great place to go visit when you're being a tourist, because the different types of churches actually speak volumes about the societies in which they were built. The first place I was in Europe was in Berlin. I did decide to go visit the Berliner Dom, which is the big Catholic cathedral in Berlin. It's a glorious building, it kind of looks like St. Peter's. So I went and visited that on my own, and although I did worry subconsciously that someone was going to jump out of the shadows and scream, "Atheist!" mostly I felt really peaceful. I discovered how nice it is to just sit in a church, and that so much of the space of a church is just there for you to sit and be with yourself. All in all, it gave me a new perspective on churches that I hadn't really been aware of before, and it made me quite enthusiastic to visit more of them. So I visited St. Paul's and Westminster Abbey and St. Peter's in Rome, and the Duomo in Milan, which I have to say is actually one of my favorites. It's just massive. It's indescribably huge. But so as I visited more and more churches, I began to see the appeal, and I began to really enjoy spending time in them. And everywhere I went, I would make a point of visiting the place of worship and just sitting, being with myself. As I visited all these churches, my perception of religion evolved. I began to feel like I was missing something. And then when I was in London in December, I decided to go to an evensong service at Westminster Abbey. The evensong was at 5 o'clock after all the tourists had left, and we were let in through the big doors. We got to sit inside the choir in little wooden booths, and it was just magical. The layman's choir sang that night, so they came up and evensong was sung, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. And although I didn't have any spiritual epiphanies, and although to this day I still don't believe in God, I do feel that as non-believers, we're missing something. I think that the religious community, and not just Christians, but indeed all religions, have something very valuable in the idea of a place where the sole purpose is to go and be. In our busy lives, if we're not religious and we don't have that kind of ritual where we go and sit and be peaceful, I think that we are less grounded. One of the things that I've learned the most out of taking this time off school is really the power of having time to think. And I don't think it's something that we should do all the time, because I found that if you think too much, you just get kind of depressed about the state of the world, and that's not really something we want to do. But I do think that if you have the time and somewhere quiet to go and be with yourself and get to know yourself better, or just to switch off, I think that that's so valuable. It's something we probably don't place enough importance on, especially as society as a whole generally moves further away from religion and becomes busier at the same time. I know it's kind of a complicated topic to talk about, and I hope I haven't offended anyone, because I really am just speaking what I think. But I've found over the past 6 months that there is a lot of good in organized religion, and though I wouldn't consider myself theist in any way, I would probably consider myself religious. I believe in the spiritual good that can come of ritual and peace. So although, like I said, if I believe in anything then it's science, I still feel that if I lived in a big city, I would go to church. Just because taking 45 minutes out of the end of your day to switch off, to relax, to listen to some beautiful music and some wise words is not at all a waste of time. So I hope that some of that made sense. And if you disagree with me at all, then please, I would love to hear what you disagree with me about. And I will see you all tomorrow for Thoughts from Places.